Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Business Builders. We're joined today with our virtual guest, Susan France from France Marketing Solutions. They are a boutique marketing and consulting firm providing curated marketing communication to develop your brand's growth through targeted lead generation, innovative marketing ideas, and streamlined strategy. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So if you wouldn't mind, please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Susan France. I'm the founder of France Marketing Solutions. Like you said, we are a boutique agency. I guess my start is I came back to Fort Myers. I have my master's degree from the University of Miami, go Canes, and came back to Fort Myers because my family's here. Worked for an agency for about a year, kind of at the infancy of social media, email marketing. And my dad came up to me one day and said, "Do you just like things on Facebook all day for work?" And I said, no. And so he hired me on as a social media marketing, and I kind of grew into the marketing director role, which is where I learned media buying, campaign creative. As this digital and innovative marketing field grew, I feel like I grew with it. And about a year and a half ago, I decided that I needed to grow. So I went out on my own and started France Marketing Solutions, and here we are.
Awesome. Well, it's definitely gone a long way from just liking things on Facebook.
That sure has.
I'm actually really excited because today's topic is actually something that we get requested a lot. And I'm actually really glad that we finally have an expert on to talk about it. So of course, I'm talking about email marketing, but a little bit more specifically of some of the best practices that you should be utilizing email marketing for to help grow your business. But before we get into kind of the specifics of best practicing and some of the platforms and solutions that you can actually use for email marketing, Susan, if you wouldn't mind talking about some of the benefits of email marketing, especially for those listening that might be still on the fence about email marketing, or they might not have fully committed all of their time to email marketing. So hopefully we can persuade them to do that.
Sure, absolutely. So email marketing is one of the great tools that you should have in your marketing mix, I call it. It costs next to nothing, really just costs your time. And the ROI, your results are, speak for themselves. In 2019, there were the ROI for email marketing was $52 in for every dollar spent. And that was before we got locked into our houses. So imagine now with people a lot more connected to their devices, just how much more you can gain from something as simple and easy as email marketing. It works to improve your customer retention. You're consistently engaging and messaging with these people. So it builds your brand loyalty, builds a relationship with your customers. You can also reach new customers through targeting, through your online content. You can drive sales. You can build customer loyalty programs, promote any new products. And at the very least, you're staying at the top of mind for your clients. So whether or not it's one email a month or you've got a drip campaign or an email flow going, you're always going to stay at the top of mind. And at some point, you almost build an opportunity for people to look forward to your email, whether it be promoting something, a highlight for what you're doing, or a discount code for them even.
So I don't want to jump the gun too much, but I know one of the questions I always hear from people, and correct me if I'm wrong, we might actually be talking about this a little bit later, is how much should you actually email your customers? Is there a magic rule of like, hey, maybe I should hit them once a week, twice a week? What's your general rule of thumb?
So that is I guess it's a matter of opinion. I am of the thought process, and also it depends on your industry. I'm like an every 14-dayer. A lot of these automated mail systems that we will talk about in a little bit kind of help you with that based on the segmentation of your list. They're able to track behaviors, searches, and even as far as if you abandon something in your cart, let's say you have like Nikes in your cart and you really want them, Nike, based on your behavior online, has a proprietary system with their emails that tell you when not to send them. So for me, I'm an every 14 dayer. And it again depends on your industry.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's also a lot of really great innovative software out there where, if someone's thinking, oh man, I got to make an email every 14 days or every week or every 2 or 3 days, there's a lot of that can be automated now as well.
Absolutely.
And we'll definitely jump into all of that, but keep that in mind as you're listening, where a lot of this stuff you can kind of set it up and forget it. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Drip campaigns or flow campaigns. You can even have things trigger based on the behaviors your consumers are partaking in on your website. So, someone signs up for your email list, you enter them into a welcome drip campaign. Again, if somebody abandons their Nikes in a cart, you send them into an abandoned cart drip campaign. And that's kind of a one-time setup thing that you don't have to worry about until you want to set up another one.
Right. Speaking of that, subject line. That's got to be probably one of the most important things. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, if you think about it, what's the first thing you see in your inbox is the subject line.
Correct.
So you want to make sure that you are talking to the person you are emailing. So customize that if you can include a first name tag. Dear Charles, are you interested in learning more about your bulldog or whatever it is? So yeah, nail your subject line. You want to keep it short and sweet, and you want to make sure that you're addressing who it is that you're talking to so that they're compelled to open that email.
What would be some red flags of maybe you shouldn't include in a subject line?
So some email servers, like if you're still using Yahoo or AOL, will flag emails that have like emojis in them. That will count as spam. Exclamation points usually go into spam. Repeating of letters, typos, things like that are going to bounce automatically. So you want to make sure that you're being really diligent and making sure that the email subject line is sounds like you know what you're talking about, and you're not coming from a bot on the internet, and everything's spelled properly and looks good.
Is there a particular time of day that usually works best? Now, obviously, I would assume it would depend on the industry that you're in or the people that you're trying to target.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different schools of thought on that. Some people are very devout to specific days. I like to go by there's 4 times of day that I think are really when you think about checking your inbox. If you think about how people are practically looking at their email, when are they looking? A lot of times people are checking in the late morning around 10 a.m. They're thinking about what they're doing for lunch. They've already got their morning emails done, and now they're just kind of putzing around and looking at their email. Another time that you probably wouldn't think about is 8 p.m. So just before bed, you're scrolling the internet. You're probably going to check your emails right before you go to bed, unless you're not addicted to your phone, which find me if you're not and tell me how to not be addicted to it. Then there's 2 p.m. Again, people are looking for their afternoon distractions. Maybe they just got back from lunch. They're checking their emails. And then 6 a.m. is kind of the last time. And that's, again, people start their day by emailing from bed. So that's why you get a lot of like the morning brew, the skim. They're catching you in the morning because you're there.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny. I know with us, we're, heavily focused on that B2B aspect. So it's really interesting to see our engagement times for emails that we send out specifically around the work hour. So we know when people are the most least productive, I would say.
Right. Take advantage of that.
Yeah. Awesome. So continuing down our list here, some of the things that I see, content guidelines for email marketing. So talk a little bit about that.
So yeah, like we said with subject line, you don't want to overshare. How long are people really looking at your email or scrolling through it? The normal intent for an email is to get them to perform an action. So you want to keep your messaging and your content short and sweet. And you want to make sure that your call to action or what the purpose of that email is very straightforward. Some other things to think about when you're creating your content is that a lot of times you can segment your email list based on who your contacts are, their demographics, their past purchase behaviors, if they're new to your business, if they're longtime customers, if they're considered VIPs. and how engaged they are with emails. And you can really tailor your content via email based on those things. And again, you want to include all of your calls to action. Are you offering a discount for a new client? Do you have an ebook that you want somebody to learn about your services through? Do you have new products that you're offering? And then the other thing that's like so important is you have to make sure your emails are mobile friendly. I think over 70% of consumers are using their mobile devices to open their emails. Like we said, you're emailing from bed. So you want to make sure that the emails that you're sending look good when they're being opened. Otherwise, they're just going on to the next email that they have in their inbox and you've kind of wasted your effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it all the time, even when you might not realize that you're checking your email, but you just take open your phone and flip, there it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you don't even realize what you're doing.
Yeah. Is there ever an email that could be too small to send?
I mean, I don't think you ever want to really send an email that's like, "Hi, I'm Susan. Thanks, bye." You want to have some sort of substance in it. Like I said, you want to make sure you have a call to action and just something that's eye-catching, whether that be a picture or a video, or catchy wording. I would say you want to have at least one image and a couple of sentences and a call to action in every email.
Okay, so now the flip question to that, is there ever an email that you can send that's too big?
So yes. Oh yeah. I mean, there's, these email newsletters. I don't know if you participate in any of them, but
Yes.
100,000 years ago, not really, started reading the skim. And I started reading the skim because it was a skim of the daily news. And I am a news addict. And I'm not calling out the skim, but the skim is no longer just a skim. It's become so long that I don't read it. I mean, if you think about when you're scrolling through your phone or you're scrolling through an email, your attention span is probably going to wane, I want to say between 30 seconds and a minute. So think about that when you're building your content.
So would you say using things maybe like bullet points to replace sentences, or maybe little icons to replace larger pictures?
Yeah, I would go imagery for lists rather than bullet points, depending on your industry. But yeah, definitely like imagery or even video kind of helps that.
Awesome. You touched on it a little bit about kind of segmenting your emails. Can you discuss a little bit more about maybe some ways you personally have segmented, or someone might segment their demographics?
Sure.
Because people talk about, hey, maybe I want to target a certain type of my customer, right? But they don't really understand what that means.
Sure. So we can just talk about segmenting based on whether or not you're a new customer, a longtime customer, or a VIP customer. So you, in your email marketing platform, will be able to tag and segment your list based on when they subscribed, what they are doing when they're coming to your website, or when they're opening your emails, or if they are a longtime customer. And from that, you can kind of build content. So you have a new client or a new customer, they're going to be a new subscriber, what's called a new subscriber, a new lead. And you're going to tell them who you are, what you do, and what products you sell, versus someone that's come to your website or to your service that's been your client for years and years and years. You're probably going to change the way that you're speaking to them, and even down to when you're sending them information and what it is you're sending them. Someone that's been like a client of an air conditioning company for 20 years, you may offer them some sort of loyalty subscription service or something like that, versus a new client, you're going to send them completely different information.
Right. No, definitely makes sense. Another thing that you had mentioned that I'd like to talk a little bit more about is essentially, you talked about sending this call to action to your clients or your customers, but how much of the emails that you send out should be direct call to actions versus maybe some general information? Like, is there kind of like a 60-40, 80-20 rule that you like to follow?
Yeah. So I like to do the 1 call to action to 3 informational. And I kind of do that with social posting as well. Hot take, social and email marketing. But yeah, so I will do like a welcome with like a discount code, and then maybe like information about who you are, information about what you do, data that has to do with what you do, and then maybe another call to action. And always knowing and including information for how to get to you from it. And sometimes you may draw leads from information that's, you know, more about who you are versus a promotional code, because you're, you know, building that loyalty of your brand. And so people are like, oh, I know you do this, this, and this, and it relates to me, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes you may be getting more out of just informational, what I call heartstrings content versus a straight call to action.
Gotcha. Are there any ways that people can kind of analyze and I guess see their ROI for specific things after they've created this content and they've gone through kind of these best practices?
So yeah, a lot of the email platforms have really robust analytics. Some of them even provide A and B testing. So you'll put your content in and they'll rearrange it themselves in a couple of different ways to see what works and what doesn't work. I mean, we know the three most important things are how many people are opening your email, how many people are clicking through to your website or whatever it is you're promoting based on your email, and how many bounces are you getting or not opens. Bounces are really bad because of something called the canned spam laws. If you have too many bounces, you're going to look like spam, and it takes away from your legitimacy and ultimately can take away from your ability to send email marketing. But a lot of these marketing platforms give you the ability to create different variations to see what works best for you, when works best for you. And then you can tailor your planning based on that.
Are there specific percentages or numbers that I guess people should be shooting for? Like if they send out 100 emails, you know, obviously you're always going to have maybe like one or two people that unsubscribe. Sure. But is there like an average that someone should be looking for?
So it's really industry based. It can range from like a 2% click-through rate to about like a 14% click-through rate based on what it is that you are doing or selling. I like to see at least a 25% open rate. And it's weird because those numbers sound small, like if you're talking about 100 emails, but really you just need to be connecting with the people that are opening. And again, that's when you can tailor your content based on that information that you're gleaning from the platforms and the analytics and the data that you're pulling.
Gotcha. Not to put you on the spot, but are you aware of any places that people can go to find industry averages for?
Yeah. There's a couple of different resources. You know, HubSpot has a good resource. USA Today Network, they provide lots of great insights. Yeah. And, you know, like I'll just sometimes, like if one of my clients is in finance, I know that they have a specific finance like marketing platform that says like industry standards you can benchmark from. And I'll go to that specifically based on what it is that I'm sending. So I try and go more finite into the industry standards so that I know that what I'm doing works or doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, speaking of software and you know, ways that you can analyze it, before we move on to some platforms that people can use, do you have any other best practices that you want to talk about for email marketing?
I think we kind of talked about that actually. I feel like I talked a lot about best practices. Yeah.
Perfect. So let's move right along then. If you want, I know people are probably more familiar with the different platforms, especially some of the major ones that are out there, but, you know, I'm actually really interested to kind of hear your take on, you know, what might be the pros and cons, because, you know, as you had mentioned before, we kind of jumped on the call of, you know, obviously if someone's using a platform, they're going to be a little bit more biased about it. So I'd love to hear your take on that. And hopefully we can have some converters after today.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my top 3 email marketing platforms that I personally prefer to use are Clavio. My apologies if that's not how you pronounce it. MailChimp and Constant Contact. So I think a lot of people are really familiar with MailChimp and Constant Contact. Actually, I feel like every podcast I listen to is brought to me by MailChimp, I feel like. So, and that is, you know, really a basic marketing platform, email marketing platform. You get free membership for up to 2,000 subscribers, and you can send up to 12,000 emails a month. And then paid plans start around like $10. They've got great templates for you. It's super easy to use. They've got really good analytics on open rates. They have the ability to segment your emails like we were talking about before, and they'll optimize your content for you, using A and B testing. They can create like about 3 different variations of your content and test to see what works best and when it works best. It also integrates really well with a bunch of third-party platforms. So like Shopify, WooCommerce, Salesforce, social platforms. It pushes your information out to that as well. And even WordPress and QuickBooks talk to MailChimp. And it's not my favorite, but I do think that for small business owners and for an end user that's not really familiar with MailChimp or with email marketing, this is a great platform to use. Constant Contact is a really similar platform to MailChimp. They have great templates. I think their dashboard is like prettier, so it might seem easier for someone to use. There's a great free trial. Paid starts at $20 a month. It integrates with essentially everything that MailChimp does. MailChimp, I think, has a little bit more integrations. I think it's not as customizable as Constant Contact or as MailChimp or as Clavio, which I'll talk about in a second. Like those tags that we were talking about are not as readily available. So Constant Contact is kind of like the little brother of MailChimp to me. And then there's Clavio. Excuse me. Clavio is, to me, the most robust email marketing platform that's available. It's really great for e-commerce. You can send out target emails based on metrics you've got, like purchasing history, viewing history. You can measure how emailees or openers have interacted with your past emails. I'm pretty sure they even have a heat map. So you can see what's clicked on, and so you can tailor your content moving forward based on that. They have automated trigger emails based on real-time interactions on your website. So like, let's say you click on a pair of sneakers and you look at them and you put them in your cart and you leave, within whatever the time you allot, you can send an abandoned cart email like without even having to do anything. And it's just in real time as you're there. It is a bit more expensive of a platform, but I think because you get, tracked website behaviors, integrations, really great analytics, it's worth it. So it starts at like $25 a month for about 500 contacts. So comparatively to MailChimp and Constant Contact, it's pretty expensive. It's also not as pretty as MailChimp and Constant Contact. So a lot of times people will get held back in how you use it based on what it looks like. And so that may be like a reason someone wouldn't want to use it. But again, to me, it's the most powerful and robust email marketing platform available, and I really like it.
So what would you say if someone who, I guess, hasn't really decided on what platform they might use, or, doesn't like the current platform that they're using now to help them with their email marketing, if you could like recap and kind of put it into maybe, I don't know, a sentence or two
Sure.
of like, what's like the one thing, or maybe like a couple of things that you think are really important that someone should look for when they're either looking for a new software or they're looking for software for the first time?
So you want to look at the number of emails you can send per cost, because you don't want your cost for sending emails out to be too high. You want to look at the email building platform. So you want to see that the content that you're building is easy for you to build, B, customizable, excuse me, and C, you want to make sure that your analytics are trackable. You want to make sure that the efforts and the time that you're spending on this are worthwhile. Otherwise, you're just kind of throwing fish at the wall and seeing it sticks. Is that how that saying goes?
I guess.
Something like that. So yeah, you want to make sure your efforts are worthwhile and your analytics are really important for that. All the other bells and whistles sort of come as you start to develop your email marketing strategy further. And the more familiar you are with a platform, the better you'll become, you'll understand what it is that you're doing. But yeah, I think that for most small businesses, MailChimp is a really, really great resource. And they've got a lot of really great, they have a drip campaign set up as well, just like Clavio, and it's a little bit easier. They provide templates, and it's the most cost effective. So I think that's a great, great platform for small business owners.
Awesome. And I will definitely make sure all of the platforms that we talked about today, I'll make sure I have those linked in the description wherever you're listening to this podcast. That way you can check them out as well. Is there anything else in regards to whether it's best practices or email marketing platforms that you'd like to talk about?
That's it.
We kind of cover it all.
Yeah, I think we read the encyclopedia of email marketing, I hope.
Awesome. Well, if our listeners are looking to find out more information, or if they have any questions and they want to follow up with you, Susan, how can they do that?
Sure. They can visit our website. It's francemarketing.com, FRANTZ. So like the country, but with a T and a Z. Or you can follow us on Instagram at France Marketing, or reach us at our office. Our phone number is 941-677-5029.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Susan.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed listening to this episode, make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss another show. Join other professionals looking to grow their business with Southwest Florida Inc. at SWFLinc.com and sign up for a free membership today. Thanks so much for listening to Business Builders. We'll see you next time.